possibly some good news. It would be a terrible disappointment if this isn't signed, but it seems like the markets think it will be.
When you see all the screaming miners screaming for joy in the stadium, saying, please sign, and Joseph knows how to play the crowd and he knows how to interpret what they want. So I think this is as good as done. There's no way Joseph Mathunjwa wants to go back to that stadium and say, guys, we're not going to sign, we're going to hold off a little longer. I think everybody wanted this to happen, and I think it's as good as done.
Okay, so 1,000 rand added to the basic wage looks like the basic agreement, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
How do we view this in light of what the mining houses have been saying, that they can't afford anything close to 12,500 euros? Now we will get there in a few years.
Yeah. You can see there was a lot of change in what AMCU's original demands were, because starting last year they said we want 12,500. That's what we're negotiating, but they never put a time limit on it. As the negotiations and talks went on this year, we heard, well, it doesn't have to be today, but it's definitely got to be within 3 years. And then a few months later, we heard they agreed to 4 years. And then a few days ago, we heard as long as we're getting it by 5 years and the government helps with housing allowance. So there was a lot of give on AMCU's side. How are the mining houses going to afford it?
Firstly, has there been give on the mining houses
very much.
side? Because they also have been rising steadily.
Yeah, there's been a lot of give on the mining houses. They originally offered, I think, 7.5%, 8% overall wage increase, and then they moved up to 9%. And if you try and add all these little components together, it looks like the total wage bill for the mining companies, the platinum companies, is going to be about a 12% increase this first year, an 11% increase, and maybe as high as a 10%. So they moved quite a bit because inflation's what, roughly 6%, and here they are now.
So almost double inflation.
It's a double inflation increase like we've had for the past 10 or 12 years.
Now, interesting on the agreement that we looked at, there was some wording saying that restructuring would be inevitable, and the mining houses have warned about possible job losses if the wage agreement is too high. That's been crossed out. So there's no agreement not to restructure. Honestly, can they carry on without losing jobs? Has it all been a lot of scaremongering, that jobs have to be lost?
No, it's the real deal, and sometimes it's better to leave difficult issues aside for a while. Everybody knows if the platinum price goes down, there has to be restructuring. Everybody knows that. If the platinum price goes up, then maybe there doesn't need to be restructuring, but it depends. How much does the platinum price go up? If the platinum price rises 6%, but all your costs have gone up 10 or 12, then you'll have more restructuring. Now, where's the platinum price going to go? Nobody knows. I certainly think it's coming down.
Are they really on the edge, though?
Well,
waiting to see what the platinum price does.
50%.
They had reserves going into the strike. They had years to build up when
no,
they
that
had
was
a commodity
nonsense.
boom.
They all had debt. They didn't have reserves. You're selling everything in the kitchen sink, in the closet, in the basement, in the garage. So half these mines were unprofitable. And you're not going to let a piece of platinum lay around. You need the money to pay off debt. So all three platinum companies are sitting on billions of debt. None of them have cash in the bank. They have debt.
There was concern that Lonmin would not be able to survive the strike because it only has mining houses on the platinum belt. So you're saying that was a real concern? It
was a real concern for all of them. And they're going to be losing money for the next few months, even if the platinum price stays where it's at. But no one's going to restructure until they stabilize. They're going to see how motivated are the men. I think the men are going to be quite motivated. They're probably going to get pretty good productivity out of them. And if the platinum price stabilizes here, they probably won't need to do any restructuring before the end of the year. But after you get about 3, 4, 5, 6 months normal production, you're going to see which shafts, which divisions are really bleeding. And hey, you have to pay this 11, 12% somewhere. This money's got to come out of someplace. So you're going to stop where it's bleeding to pay the people that remain.
That would be so contentious if it happened. I'm sure you agree.
It's contentious, but that's life. You see it in all businesses. Banks do it all the time. The auto workers do it. Farms do it.
Ironically, Peter, though, hasn't the strike put the mining houses in a better position? Because there was some concern that we were almost heading to a situation where there was an oversupply of platinum in the world, a lot of platinum being recycled, I understand. So almost this has put them in a position where maybe that platinum price could go up.
No, nobody is better off because of the strike. These mining companies will never regain the 22 billion rand they've lost. And the workers will never regain 6 months' wages. They could have had double this increase and they won't ever make up what they've lost. Nobody wins in a strike. Yes, it's taken some platinum off the market, but if we were more efficient, we used to make money a few years ago when platinum was 600 an ounce, 700. Now, half our mines bleed at 12. We've had no productivity increase for 12, 15 years. And unless we start getting productivity increases like the rest of the world, the industry will continue to decline no matter what the platinum price does.
Well, I guess, and the agreement talks about a future forum, which is interesting. And I'm sure you would agree that workers and these mining houses need to find a new way of talking about things like productivity and wages. Do you think this will finally force better labour relations?
I hope it does, because that's what they need. From 1932 to 1972, the gold price was stuck at $35 an ounce. The only country that increased production and labor, we increased labor every year for 40 years with a flat gold price because they worked together and they mechanized and they increased productivity and they innovated. And so all the world's gold mines closed down. I don't think there was 5 gold mines in the world, but South Africa was building more and more. We had 40, 50 gold mines. So we could do that again if we work together and we say, let's have some give and take. Let's become productive. It's last man standing. We want to be more productive than the Russians and the Americans, not less.
Investors, do they want to see a change in the law that government has actually hinted at? Given the length of the strike, our mining minister saying maybe government should have that right to end a deadlock strike.
Yeah, investors, they want to see an improved environment. The environment is too toxic here for mining. You had the gold price go from $300 to $1,800 an ounce. You know, a 6-fold increase in 6-7 years. And yet our production went down every year. Our employment on the gold sector went down every year. What that tells you is the environment here in mining is so toxic that it doesn't matter what the gold price does. It's too toxic for mining to survive, like taking a goldfish and putting it in battery acid. The environment is toxic. So we have to say, why is this environment toxic? Is it because there's too much legislation? Are they trying to force too much onto the mines? We have to look, this environment is toxic, and it's worked against the precious metal mines tremendously. And if we can fix the environment or make it better, then investors will open their eyes. But if they don't see any change in this toxic environment, then nothing's going to change and they won't put any money here.
Well, I imagine that even when the strike comes to an end, this discussion will go on. Thank you for your analysis. That was Peter
welcome.
Major from Katie's.